Well, no, Rick. Happy 12th, my friend. I hope you've got the marching shoes on today. For I certainly don't. No, I was listening.
I'm in my birthday.
I was listening out the window this morning. You know, it's a nice wake up call in the morning, and late night fireworks last night with three Staffordshire Bull Terriers coming through my back door like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, so it was quite fun. Just the usual 11th birthday night. You know, I was 44 yesterday, so.
I was going to say happy birthday to you, mate. Ironically, you were born on the 11th of July. So all them fireworks that were going off and all that noise last night wasn't because of Mark's birthday. For anybody living outside of Ireland, up in the north here, with the 12th of July celebrated, people march the streets. And on the 11th night, big bonfires are built. And last night, I was driving through town and I saw this massive fire. And I says to myself, they've lit the bonfire early this year, but it wasn't. Somebody's house had been torched, and the fire brigades were all piling out dead. The bonfire didn't get lit until midnight, and the whole town was heading out towards the estate. The roads were blocked off either side, and if they only start burning them bonfires at midnight, I don't know what time the thing's going to be burnt out at, because if you've ever been over here, if you live over here, some of the bonfires, like you seen the one in Ballycraigie in Larne, it's
288 feet or something. Yeah, it's
it'll still be burning. It'll still be burning at Christmas, mate.
It's a world record. I seen a video there this morning. You know the way you always get videos, and God love the lad. There was a lad, one of the bonfire builders, and he was coming down, and it was a massive bonfire. It was probably one of the biggest. There was a tricolour from the top. It was from the top to the bottom of it, so people will know exactly what one I'm talking about. There was a lad climbing down the side of it, and when he was climbing down, he had to push himself out like that there from the second tier, and you know how high they are up, Rick. And he hit the ground, and he didn't move, and he had a lot of people running over to him. The young lad probably a broken back or broken legs. God love him, like, you know. But look, that's the dangers of it. That's
But happy birthday to you anyway. Happy birthday. We're having a bit of a chuckle between the purpose here, and it's good to have you back on. I want to talk about what's going on in Ireland, full stop, both up in the north, down in the south, and everywhere east, west, and everywhere in between. There's been a lot happening even since the last time you and me talking. Somebody put up a post yesterday on social media, a chap by the name of Irish Nationalist 7, and he raises some good questions here. I'm going to throw this at you. He said, I wasn't born until the 1990s. Now, I know you go back a wee bit before that. You're a child of the 80s and I'm a child of the 70s, but I wasn't born until the 90s. And I'm not saying that old Ireland was a paradise or that the church having so much influence was a good thing. But if you see photos of Dublin back in the 60s and 70s, why does it look so much more clean and organised and civilised compared to now in 2023? And you've said to me before that you've took a few trips down to certain parts of Belfast and down into the south of Ireland, and it's been emotional for you when you see the way the places kind of went to the dogs. So what the question is he's asking is, and maybe people are listening and thinking, well, what is the problem? What is the problem in Ireland at the minute? You know, you complained that the church was too influential in your business. You complained about this and it wasn't perfect, but it's worse, mate. It's definitely not going forward. Ireland is not progressive at the minute. It is regressive. So what do we attribute that to? I mean, like, is it one thing? Is it several things? What is it?
Marxism and communism. Just put it long and short. And socialism. Socialism, communist, Marxism. Yeah, well, no, you know, people will turn around and say Marxism isn't communism. Well, Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto. Karl Marx is the grandfather of Freemasonry. You know, he has the hidden hand, you know. I actually, by chance, was trying to watch a film last night. You know, I can't watch TV at the minute. It's just too distorted. So I tried putting on the new Transformers video, and straight away it was going into a man of colour's room with a big Cuba flag hanging in his room. And I'm seeing a lot of this here with the younger generation. I go back to the bug of 2000, 1999 into 2000, and they talked about the millennial bug. Well, I believe that was the beginning of this. And it's a 33-year cycle, 33. And it is to forge a new world order. And it has been written in the history books. It's history repeating itself. We had the time of capitalism. Before that, we had communism. And now we're going back until they're looking to go into communism. It's just the yin and the yang. And it's up till people to raise their consciousness and raise above it. And a thing that I would love to talk to you about is, you know, the south of this island has went all left, right. And when you ask them really about their Irish history, all the blurred out of them is 1916 and 1919. And none of them talk about 1937 actually getting independence, when King Edward VIII abdicated from the throne on the 11th of December 1936. Well, De Valera, as pursuant to the Proclamation of Ireland, the founding document of the state, seized that moment and struck for her freedom, because there was no sitting monarchy. And people were going, aye, but it was an illegal government. No, it wasn't an illegal government. You know, they were forging independence. So first they proclaim it, then they declared it on the 21st of January 1919. But the British government said that they didn't recognise that government. But 2 years later, signed terms for a treaty, the Anglo-Irish Treaty. It was signed on the 6th of December 1921, and on a year later, it took 10 months to ratify, and they brought it into full force in the 6th of December 1922. And that had a 99-year leasehold, as pursuant to Article 11 of that Constitution, the 1922 Free State Ireland Constitution. And that leasehold lasted until the 5th of December just passed there, midnight, which would have been 99 years, 364 days, 23 years, 59 minutes and 59 seconds. To be precise, it's a contract. And it was a land leasehold, and it created a statelet called Northern Ireland. And they had to create another statelet, and it was called Republic of Ireland. It's in all caps and it's in brackets. It's ASL. It only exists in the mind of man. The official name of this state is Era, and that's a whole island. You know what I mean? And if we can all come collectively together, well, the 1937 Constitution, the one I have, the original, written in the first national principle official Irish text, Clú Gaelic. And as pursuant to Article 63 in that, it says, a copy of this Constitution, signed by the Taoiseach, the Chairman, and the Chief Justice of Dáil Éireann, shall be enrolled in the office of the Registrar of the Supreme Court, and such signed copy will be conclusive evidence of the provisions of this Constitution in case of conflict between the Irish and the English text writings. The Irish text will take supremacy. And if you evoke that with Article... Go ahead.
Sorry, Mark. I tell you what, I don't want to interrupt your full flow, but we're going to take a wee news break. So I want to keep the momentum going. So if we could just pause on that and expand on that in just a minute, we'll do that, because I want to bring up other things about, you know, the lack of knowledge that people have in general about constitutional affairs with Ireland, about history in Ireland, both North and South, Protestant and Catholic. It's unbelievable how dumbed down people have actually become and how suppressed information actually
for this time, Rick.
I'm glad you brought this up. And yes, exactly. So we're going to take a quick break, and please don't go away. We'll be right back in 1 minute with Mark Molloy. And if you have any questions, by the way, leave them in the live chat, and I'll filter them through to Mark as well if you have anything that you want to ask him. But don't go away. We'll be right back. This is TNT Radio.
I got a news flash for you.
TNT Radio. All right, Mark, we're talking about constitutional issues. We're talking about a bit about Irish history. Speaking personally, as you know, I grew up Protestant background. You're from a Roman Catholic background. Schooling systems over in the north were very, very segregated. for a very, very long time. You usually went to one school, you went to another, and based on what school you went to, people could tell what religion you were because you went, right, that's a broad school, or that's the Roman Catholic school, or whatever. Now, me personally, going right through primary school, going right through secondary school, right up to went to Queen's University, Irish history was never, ever even touched upon or looked upon. All right, you might have got a wee bit of it in secondary school, talking about the Easter Rising, maybe a wee bit about that, a wee bit about this. But generally speaking, a lot of people have no idea about Irish history, but they came from a certain denominational background. I don't know what it was like in Catholic schools, but obviously more Irish history, I would have believed, would have been taught there. But did they go into the type of detail that you're going into now, or did they just give you like a, how would you say, a surface level overview of it from one perspective, but they didn't dig deep?
When I was at school, they didn't teach us Irish until practically second or third year, I think it was. You know what I mean? And it wasn't compulsory in Irish Catholic schools. And you know, fast forward to the day, Rick, and you have, I suppose, what are they legislating for in the North? Abortion. Okay, we have no devolved government. They're out of Westminster. They're also looking to bring in a nuclear, a higher activity nuclear waste plant into the Sperns. That was in the Geological Survey report for the British Geological Survey report on the 17th of April 2023, this year. On the same day, Sinn Féin came out in Mid-Ulster Super Council and says that they reject it. Now, they're fully for it because they're behind the gold mining up in Greencastle. They'll all deny it. Well, if you look back, you know, it's all corrupt. They've collapsed this government for a reason, because I pulled Sinn Féin on my doorstep when they were out, and I says, DUP's never going to go back into government with you. And they says, Mark. And I goes, they're not going to go back into government with you, for the simple fact is, the whole, it's designed never to operate. You know, it's always blaming them, you know what I mean? And look, they've brought in this abortion legislation, and I've had a lot of mothers and fathers, you hate calling them parents, because that's a pair who rent their child off the state. And that's what that means. When you register your child, I was born the 11th of July, and on my birth registration, my birth certificate, it was a registrar on the 24th of July, registered me. So what was I? Registered goods. Well, that's what you are. You're commerce in their eyes. The minute you're born, you become money. Floating money, cash cow, floating on the stock exchange. And Chris Heaton-Harris and civil service have now taken full control of the North's legislation. And I said that the Sinn Féin on the doorstep, and they goes, well, that's the danger. It is a danger. They've been telling us about it. It's complete. They've done all these cuts, and now they're bringing in the RSE legislation for teaching children trans ideology, equality, all that. They're teaching them equality, yet they couldn't teach me to love you, Rick, in school in the length of time that I was in it. A Catholic, they couldn't teach a Catholic to love their Christian neighbour, a Protestant, and likewise. But now they're trying to teach our children to love men running about in skirts. It's not on. And there is a get-out clause in this here, and I read bits of the legislation, and I've also read this here, and it states on it, new regulations introduced in Parliament this week, making it compulsory for all post-primary schools in Northern Ireland to teach pupils about the access to abortion, prevention of early pregnancy. According to Northern Ireland Secretary of State Chris Heaton-Harris, the Executive Formation Act, which previously introduced new laws on abortion in Northern Ireland, also requires him to implement recommendations for RSE contained in the new CEDAW report. He stated, I have today laid out regulations in Parliament to implement the CEDAW recommendations to make age-appropriate, comprehensive and scientifically accurate education on sexual reproductive health and rights a compulsory component of the curriculum of adolescence, covering prevention of early pregnancy and access to abortion in Northern Ireland and monitor its implementation. The regulation will mirror the approach taken in England with regard to education about prevention of early pregnancy. It has always been my preference that a devolved matter by the Department of Education would update the curriculum. However, nearly 4 years have passed since the Northern Ireland Executive. Adolescents in Northern Ireland are still not receiving comprehensive and scientifically accurate education on sexual reproductive health. It also goes on to say, just a wee second, Chris, it says, here it is here. Mr. Heaton Harris said that he would give 6 months for meaningful engagement, consultation that is, right? With teachers, parents, and young people about the changes, adding that parents can withdraw. I'll say that again. Parents can withdraw their children from education on sexual reproductive health rights or elements of that education. So, me being me, I don't look at problems, I try and look at solutions. My solution to everybody is, instead of going and standing like dickheads outside schools with placards and then the police coming in and lifting you for hate and all that, do it correctly. I'm going to tell you how to do it. Write a letter to the school mid-August to the principal requesting an interview or a face-to-face meeting with your concerns on RSE education being brought into the school. That is your right to do that. Then once you get in there, you have an opt-out letter. And you keep copies of this and you opt out of it. You listen to the argument, then you opt out of it. Then if they refuse you to opt out of it, you remember that this legislation here, don't get into an argument. Don't get into an argument. That's what they want. You have a deregistration, notice of deregistration. Why would I say deregister your child? Because every child in school is worth £7,460. It was a 44% increase compared to 5,180 allocated to 2010-2011. That there was 2023 and 2024. £7,460 per child per head. So the minute you go up, you are signing your child over. That's a contract you're signing with that school. So that's why they have truancy to come out and get you in. Why? Because if 10 children were taken out of school, that's £74,600 in the year. So if you had 10 schools throughout the north deregistered their children and take them out, you will have an impact. Why? Because they'll have to look at this because all of the budgeting of the education has been cut. They'll have to take notice of this. This is a proper plan of action, people. Deregister your children. You don't have to opt out. If they leave you no option, say, I want to deregister. I'm giving you 7 days notice to think about this here. Otherwise, get me the deregistration forms. My child will not be in this school until it is a safe and environment to do so. You're putting onus back onto them, saying it is an unsafe environment.
Could you imagine, Mark, if, it depends on the size of the school, even if there's 1,000 pupils in it, even if you could get 50,
that's it.
Out of 1,000, right?
Do the maths.
Do the mathematics. That's 350 grand. You would be doing that school out of, roughly speaking, if my mathematics is correct, 7 5s is 35. 350 grand. And that's only 50 people.
50 people.
School of 1,000. You don't need to get 500 out, you can get 900 out, even if you can get 50 out. And if you could do that as a concerted effort among parents, that's this whole point. They want you to believe that you're powerless and that it's a hopeless situation and you can't stand against the man. And as you rightly point out, and this is worthwhile noting this down, people, because this is a plan to everybody right across the board here. It's all fine to stand on the street. It's all fine to walk through Dublin or walk through London. It's okay to write an email to your MP, but where you want to kick them and it's going to hurt them the most is in their pockets, is in their funding.
Do it with paper, folks.
Squeezed. Yes, do it with paper. And ask for your face-to-face interview, because they'll tell you what else that'll do, mate. If 50 sets of parents got together and demanded a face-to-face, that's 50 interviews that the
Bingo.
principal has to do in August when he's getting ready for the new school term to start, and he can't refuse that you do it. So clog them up administratively and clog them up and hammer them hard financially, and that will get stuff done. So for all the people out there that are always saying, well, it's always about the problems, what about the solutions? There you have it to you, set on a silver platter. So take notice of what Mark Molloy saying here this morning. Know your rights, know what you can do. You write a letter to the principal, you ask for a sit down, let them say their piece, let them talk about the act, and then say, look, you have 7 days to reconsider this, otherwise I'm going to deregister my child from your school. And if they don't do that, if enough people do it, you'll hammer them financially where it hurts them the most. So that's a great suggestion, by the way. One of the best ones I've heard yet on TNT. And I'm not just saying that since we started this show way back in January last year. So big thank you to that, Mark. I'm going to take a short break here. I'm going to reconnect again, and we're going to talk about some of the other issues that are facing us here in Ireland. When we come back, please don't go away.
Climate change now causes, wait for it, blindness? Oh no, climate's going to take away your ability to see?
Oh boy. From Washington, D.C., this is the Morano Minute with your host, TNT Radio's Mark Morano.
The UK Daily Mail has the article. Climate scientists now say climate change is making us blind. University of Toronto researchers looked at 1.7 million adults over 65 years old. Those in warmer areas were up to 44% more likely to have vision problems. So there you have it. Unless you support the Green New Deal, UN Paris Agreement, or full Marxist-style takeover of your government, you are going to go blind. Climate activist Stevie Wonder warned us about this years ago.
And anyone who believes that there's no such thing as global warming must be blind or unintelligent. Lord, please save us all.
Get ready for your seeing-eyed dog, you climate deniers. This is Mark Morano for the Morano Minute on TNT Radio. Thanks for listening.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great. And I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on you. Morning meditation.
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out.
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom. Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings.
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
This is Lock and Loaded with Rick Munn on TNT.
Mark was saying that's a fantastic strategy that you have there with regards to a concerted effort among even a small group of parents to try and cut this one off at the knees come September time. Possibly they've went through their own think tanks to try and preempt stuff like this or resistance like this happening from parent groups. One of the things that I saw rolled out for the South was they were talking about Norma Foley, I think is the education minister down south. She's the education minister down south. She was saying, well, if that happens, your child may be referred to the clinical psychologist or the school psychologist for, an interview if they're being taken out of these classes. Again, kids are being used as pawns and levers here. Obviously, if you're a parent, you're going, oh, I don't want to have that down in my record. The child's getting interviewed by a psychologist. How are they going to feel? Will their friends not be laughing at them? They know what they're doing psychologically to subvert the children of our island at this point in time. Is it a fair point to say that as much as they want to make our life, Unique's life, as difficult as possible and bring in their evil agenda, they're really going hell for leather for the up-and-coming generation of children in Ireland to get them from 4 years of age and upwards and really hammer this indoctrination, the green agenda, the trans agenda, the open borders agenda. Are they not trying to absolutely use these kids as a blank canvas for a new generation of mindless drones that are going to effectively be the end of Ireland if they get their way?
Well, I think it's a failure on the mother and father's parts for the past 20 years as well, 25, 30 years. Because if you look at society now, I thought a lot of young people are awake, but the ones that are going to indoctrinated university campuses are coming out with, they've been taught Marxist ideologies. They've been taught communist ideologies. Capitalism is bad. They've been taught that. They've been taught it by a communist, globalist agenda, sustainable goals. They think, that this communist, everybody alone nothing and be happy. They think that this is a good thing. They've been worked into it. We have failed our children as a society, and it's up to us, the sort of middle-aged ones, to put it right again. And this is a clear-cut way of doing it. First of all, you make your appointment. Second of all, you go up, you negotiate. The negotiations are not to your satisfaction because it is compulsory. They will be teaching abortion in Catholic schools. So I'm a Catholic, and they have the 7 social principles of Catholic teachings, family being the primary one. Now they're looking to teach our Catholic children. My daughter's going into first year. She will not be doing it. I will be doing this here. If you have groups of 20, 30 of you that meet up every week, this is a thing to do. Listen to this here. Get your template made up. It's an opt-out, because you're not refusing. Never refuse. Refusal is an act against the state. You're opting out because you've had that consultation, you've had the negotiation, it's not your satisfaction, and you think your child's health and mental health well-being can be affected by these teachings, and it is against your religion. Plus, also within this book, this is the Constitution, and I think I've shown you it before, but that's it there. Okay, that's it. Look at the text in it, it's beautiful. Imagine being able to write like that. We were dumbed down, And Article 42 in the Irish Constitution, the National Constitution of Ireland, not the Constitution of Ireland. Those are 3 colours of law. That's what you have. That's the 1919. That's when they brought you into Europe, 1972. And that was the First and Second Amendment, which was done, and they are ultra vires, which is a Latin term for illegal. They were done under emergency time of war, 1939, 2nd of September. And the 3rd of September, early hours of the morning, 5:15 in the morning, emergency legislation to change the time of war. We have been in a perpetual state of war in this country for 800 years. We have been dumbed down. We're a Christian nation, and now they're looking to attack our children. We have open borders. We're bringing in the whole of Africa, and we're killing our own babies. Can we not get to grips with this here? You're a Christian of a Christian belief. I have a Christian belief. This is a Christian country. The preamble says, in the name of the most holy Trinity, from whom all authority and to whom our final end, all actions of both men, that's you and I, and states, that's the state, will be referred. We, the people of Earth, give to ourselves this Constitution.
Amen.
Yeah, and it says in here, it's all...
Ivan, you've been a good free Presbyterian minister. Do you know that?
Well, God's God. I love God. And God loves me. I love Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ loves me. And I'll tell you this here. We're bringing in Muslims, and we're putting them into Crook Park, and Sinn Féin's doing it. And they're hailing it a great thing. Mary Lou McDonald has a trans sibling, brother and sister. Bring them into Crook Park and ask them how welcome they would be with Muslims on Etihad or whatever, And then she's got Shalom on her wall and her house, Shalom, which is a Jewish term, and on her Twitter account she has a Palestinian flag. The irony, I'll read you out this here just to, the state acknowledges that the primary and natural educator of the child is the family and guarantees to respect the inalienable, which is God-given right, to the duty of the parents to provide, according to their means, for religious and moral, intellectual, physical, and social education of their children. The parents shall be free to provide this education in their homes, or in private schools, or in schools recognised and established by the state. The family, Article 41, the state recognises the family as the natural, primary and fundamental unit group of society, and the moral institution possessing inalienable and imprescriptible rights antecedent, meaning before state, and superior to all positive law, superior to all acts, legislations, guidelines, statutes, and all that. Why? Article 15.4 of this here says any acts statutes or guidelines which is repugnant to this Constitution or should be deemed null and void, the President should decline to sign them. The most historical Supreme Court ruling in Supreme Court history, constitutional, the law of the land, general misconception is any statute passed by the legislators bearing appearance of law. A colour of law, bearing appearance of law is called a colour of law. Appearance of law constitutes of law of the land, right? The US Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for a law that violates the Constitution to be valid. This is succinctly stated as follows. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are deemed null and void. Marbury versus Madison, 5, US 2 Crunch 137, 174, 176. That was a Supreme Court ruling made in 1803 and still has the full force today. We have judicial review and judicial determination built into the organs of this and the machinery of this Constitution. And what I want to do is make people aware that while we're out fighting, they are trying to take away Articles 40 to 45. And that is the family, fundamental rights, private property and religion. And they are doing it through hate speech legislation, the private property bill and all that in the south of Ireland. They brought in abortion in 2018. Lo and behold, we have no sitting government. They're following their constitution. They've brought it in up here. You can go for abortion without question up to 12 weeks and anything with a disability up to 24 weeks. We went from having no abortion to being the most liberal abortion in Western Europe. We were the only part of Western Europe which had no abortion. And now we've got full tilt and nobody's talking about it, not in the south, not in the north, anywhere. And we need to opt out our children, hit them in the pocket where it hurts. God bless everybody. Happy 12th.
No, you know what? I mean, like, you can't argue with a single thing that you're saying. And the biggest tragedy about what you're saying is written in stone, as it were, and makes perfect sense. But what's coming out of your mouth, and then what happens when you turn around and you look around Ireland and you see how far down the slippery slope it has went, it's a little bit concerning and a little bit discouraging. Think hell's bells, Mark. If we want to get back to that point, if we want to get back to the place where we're a Christian God-fearing country and the family unit is instrumental to the success of our nation going forward, and we have full control of governance over what goes into our children's ears, what goes into their eyes, and what people can say and can't say to them, it makes you think that we'll have a lot of work to do. But without being pessimistic, and we'll have to be optimistic, we'll have to be realistic, but we also have to have hope. And just we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to just say this to you: we may have lost, war is still there for the taking. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's never over to the fat lady sings. I'll say this here because it's today and it's the 12th. The state recognises the Church of Ireland, the Presbyterian Church in Ireland, the Methodist Church in Ireland, the Religious Society and Friends of Ireland, as well as the Jewish congregation and other religious denominations existing in Ireland at the date of coming into operation of this Constitution. Freedom of conscience and the free profession of a practice of religion are subject to public order and morality guaranteed to every citizen. Why are we fighting with our people?
Exactly. And the laws that they're trying to bring in at the minute, and they're trying to push through, and everything seems to be convening on September. That's when they're bringing in these HSE regulations with school sex education. That's when the hate speech law has been punted back to while they continue to consult. How McAtee's continued to consult until the autumn time. They're kicking the can down the road, but we need to kick it off the road. We need to put it into the recycling bin and make sure that thing doesn't come back into circulation again. So yes, fantastic talking to you, mate, to be quite honest with you. I wish we had a wee bit longer, but we don't. Time's our enemy here, not just the government and not just the New World Order, but time is our enemy here in TNT Radio. So Mr. Mark Molloy, I want to give a big TNT salute out to you. It's been a pleasure as always, and happy belated birthday for yesterday. Hope you had a blast. you and I'll stay in touch and maybe get talking again sooner rather than later, because this isn't going away and we need strong voices to come out with practical solutions and then people to get off their asses and actually implement them so we can win this war for once and for all. So God bless you, Mark.
God bless you.
To you, mate. And maybe we'll meet up again someday in the flesh. But until now, stay in touch.
I'll see you in the field.
Don't go away. And I'll be back again tomorrow. Have a good day.
Thanks so much, Mark. Right.
Thank you, my friend. God bless and take care.
Yes. Talk to you again.